Yeah, I'm actually gonna keep that little please stand by thing handy due to one of the. All I'm gonna say, I'm gonna have to censor one part of the sprites in this, cause all I'm gonna say is towel. That's all I'm gonna say. Other than that, welcome back to the actual final volume of the curse killing arc for Higurashi. Anyway, let's get started. The body wasn't there. The police didn't arrest me because of that, but I didn't know whether to feel happy about it. Just like Satoko said, I'd failed to kill her uncle. The body wasn't there, so I was forced to conclude as much. No matter what strange natural disaster, coincidence, or miracle it might have implied. In order to free Satoko, I became a demon. And this abnormal world was my reward, yes. Metaphorically, I had fallen into the demon world. But if that price had been in exchange for the life of Satoko's uncle, then that would be fine. Since Satoko's uncle was still alive, still shackling her to him, I needed to become a demon once again. One more time. No, as many times as it took. I would kill that man over and over until Satoko was liberated. Oh, Jesus. I had already awoken. I looked at the clock to see that it was early in the morning, at just about 5. It was already light outside. Once I had hardened my resolve to become a demon again. Oh my god, you guys see what I mean by he's going nuts? I could feel my whole body teeming with the awakened power once more. And hi, Usagi, how are you doing today? Or tonight? And hi there, how are you doing tonight, young forever? That wasn't an issue. No matter what, I'd do it. I'd got myself up. The exhaustion for the past 2 days was completely swept away, and I didn't feel sleepy anymore either. I slowly rose and made sure my body was moving like I wanted to. I could feel blood flowing through each and every one of my fingers. Now I'm doing good. And a strange thought. These 2 days, while I've said it was for Satoko's sake, the only thing on my mind had been killing. Oh Jesus! I've said it was for Satoko, but while actually carrying out the act, I had completely forgotten about Satoko, albeit only temporarily. Also, one thing I'm gonna mention. I feel like if I finish this early, I feel like playing Borderlands 3, cause yeah, now I'm hooked. And I just got it today. Maybe initially it was for Satoko's sake, but now I was just a demon, killing for the sake of killing. And as a result, I sunk into a world fit for such a demon. Maybe it was the same for Satoshi. He resolved himself to kill his aunt to save Satoko. I mean, just look at all the pictures in gaming. I'm just like having fun with photo mode as well. Saved Satoko, became a demon, then disappeared from the sunlit Hinamizawa, vanishing into the demon world. Which meant that after all was said and done, I'd met the same fate as him. And I tried to avoid making the same mistake, but it happened anyway. Which meant that maybe Satoshi was here. Satoshi had come to this world a year before me. So he would be somewhere. Why is that, young? Alright, aren't you from my are from my Pokemon streams, then surprise, I stopped walking. There was a second set of footsteps I'd grown so used to hearing. Are you... could be Satoshi? Could you be Satoshi? The empty, lifeless air wouldn't give me an answer, but I felt a strange kind of relief that there was someone there, that Satoshi has stuck with me the whole time. It sounds like someone else other than Satoshi. Let's go, Satoshi, once more. This time, we will set Satoko free for sure. I quietly slipped out of the house so my parents wouldn't notice. If they caught me now, when I'd been out of the way too late for 2 days now, they'd really give me an angry talking to. I didn't have the time to allow for that to happen. Today, I would put an end to it. If the dead body disappeared, then I didn't have to bury it. I could burn it to ashes, then take them with me so I could kill him again every time he resurrected. And I'd do it again. I'd kill him again. And this time I'd set her free. Now outside, the morning light was so beautiful as to stagger belief. I went to the storage room to find weapons which I could kill him for sure. Blunt or not, it didn't matter to me. Right now, I didn't need to care whether someone saw or if the police came. This world had gone crazy after all. A world where I'd shown up at the festival and had fun, even though I wasn't there. Even if the police arrested me, I'd probably end up going right back home as if nothing had happened. Both me and that other Keiji Maibara. Even without me, he'd fill in. And thanks for the scissors, by the way. I could vanish from Hinamizawa without anyone noticing, so basically I didn't care if I was mistakenly killed. Even if I died, Keiji Maibara would remain. After all, this isn't the world I belong in. And thanks for the apple juice. Still trying to figure out what that is. If I was going to be killed mistakenly for Satoko's sake, then that was just part of my duty as her Nini. As those desperate thoughts became serious, the morning air felt more refreshing to me, strangely enough. Oh, this one's scary. Let's go with this. Oh, wait. Oh, this one's scary. Let's go with this. It was a hatchet meant for chopping thick firewood. Oh, apple cider? Well, I was right. I guess I was right the few times. Its hefty steel blade was sinister, almost as though it was a tool meant for killing people. And for the curious why I'm streaming this, I'm actually wrapping up like this story I've been doing since last Halloween. For the first half of it, it was a tool meant for, almost as though it was a tool meant for killing people. I couldn't exactly take it out in public like that, so I wrapped it in a little in some old newspaper and tossed it in the basket on my bike. Sorry for using you for evil all the time. I'll need you again today, my legs. And thanks for the pumpkin. I apologize to my bike for some reason. The past 3 days, I've only used it for dangerous things. I'd been riding this bike ever since I lived in my own old town. Oh my god, I can't even read today. I could walk most places I wanted to go, so I didn't use it all that much. And the slice of pizza as well. My mom had brought it for me when I entered cram school, thinking it would be a convenient way to get to the station, since it was far away. So I'd always used it to go... Oh my god, to use to get back and forth from cram school. I'd only ever put textbook and class materials in front of the basket too, and the taco as well. I'd never tried to put a hatchet that I'd be using to kill someone in here. When I came to Hinamizawa, life finally felt fun. I met the best friends ever and had some of the greatest times ever. Those times might have been shattered now, but it was my greatest wish that I could get them back, even if I had to risk my life for it. And the paper pirate as well. That's how fun those times had been. I killed someone, and now I was at it again, needing to kill someone. Murder was a crime. I didn't believe that people should ever think murder was okay. But still, the times I had were enjoyable enough for me to commit such a crime. And the corgi as well. My friends were irreplaceable, and the time spent with them a treasure. Hanging out, laughing, sometimes tricking each other, but always in a friendly way. I didn't fear committing any crime, as long as it was for the sake of taking back those times that gave my heart so much pleasure. And the rock as well. Yes, this was the value I decided to uphold. It wasn't something I learned from a school teacher. It was a noble path that I chose for myself. Oh god. I thought back to when I first came to Hinamizawa, about how on the very first day Satoko welcomed me with a blackboard eraser with a rock in it. That welcome really surprised me. She would laugh, get angry, cry. She was never boring. She was obviously the most childlike one among us, but she was actually lively, full of vim and vigor, and good at meddling in other people's businesses. That went for Mio and Rena and Rika-chan too. Wasn't Satoko the one at the center of everyone's laughing and banter? Satoko would try to look cool. Then Mion would make fun of her endlessly. Then Satoko would cry, which would put Rena in a state of ecstasy. Rika-chan would be greatly delighted. And I happened to get mixed up in it. We would always fool around like that. And for the leaves, as autumn leaves as well. It was lonely when someone wasn't around, but if I had to name someone whom it was the worst, it would have been Satoko. Her smile was everyone's smile. Ever since she stopped smiling, so did the rest of us. And for the rest of us, not smiling was the same as dying. It was just like when I silently going to cram school. When I was silently going to cram school every day just to maintain my unchanging test scores. So basically, we were nothing when she wasn't smiling. She was full of hot air, but she was our princess, cute and unhateable. Just from reading that.
Oh my god!
Yeah. Just reading the princess part. In that case, I was her knight. Oh no. Or Joseph.
Oh no!
Thanks for the rock. In that case, I was her knight, searching for the dragon's castle in order to win her smile back. Or I don't know, but if I should mention Keiji is like in his teens or something, it just feels a bit uncomfortable just reading that. And thanks to the stars, knights of course use swords, the awesome two-handed kind. I'm probably the only knight in the history of the world to be taking someone on with a thick rusty hatchet. Then I saw an old woman on the ridge of the field waving to me. Oh my, Keiji-kun! Out for a morning ride, I'd see. Good morning! I reflexively waved back in a refreshing way. Should I really have been feeling too happy waving like that? Satoko's house would be right past this road, going beyond the rice paddies. The cicadas had woken up too. The next thing I knew, I was an audience to their daily chores. I gave myself a hit or two in the head and drove away my merry morning mood. I took a deep breath, then tilted my head, quelling my pointless excitement. The body wasn't there. Its absence either meant my killing him had been an illusion, or that I killed him and he'd risen from the dead. If I was at the festival, then maybe I should have considered it an illusion. Coach probably thought that way, which is why he treated me like a lunatic. But being an illusion was just impossible. I killed him without a doubt. Without a doubt. If I had been an illusion, then that would make all this Hinamizawa I was in right now an illusion. If that was the case, then here's how it would end up. I was actually in a vegetative state due to the traffic accident, and I was currently dreaming in the hospital bed about how great it would be to spend time with friends in rice paddies like these. That was a terrifying thought, though. If it wasn't an illusion, then the only possible answer was that he'd resurrected. It would make him a literal monster. But if I knew such a monster, then I was no less than a monster myself. I didn't hesitate to kill someone. I could even manipulate curses. Oh, nice. Just plain shrimp or deep fried? Takano-san had died probably because I'd cursed her. Or maybe that was a little much. If Coach and Oishi died too, like I'd cursed them to yesterday, then I'd believe it. I set my bicycle aside and went to take a look. His mortar bike wasn't here. Of course it wasn't. I sent it down to the underworld that night, throwing it into the Onigafuchi swamp. Or maybe, just like how the corpse wasn't there, maybe the mortar bike didn't get thrown into the swamp either? The fact that his bike was here might have been because he had gone to town and hadn't come back, not necessarily because I'd thrown it into the swamp. If her uncle wasn't around, then that was convenient on his own. Then I would just show myself in. Then wait for him to return, sharpening my hatchet. If he was here, forgotten sensation came back to my gut. A feeling of tension rose within me. The sensation was like poison, dulling in my actions, but it could also be the trigger to allow me to awaken my superhuman otherworldly self. I held my hatchet, still wrapped in newspaper. Its weight in my hands was profound, sinister, and reliable. I didn't know what time it was without a clock, but it was probably still a little before 7, and thanks to the rock, Satoko would probably be awake, preparing breakfast and her lunch. But her uncle would probably still be wallowing in indolence. I don't know how to say that. A guy like him probably would have stayed up late, drinking, probably always slept until noon. I considered ringing the doorbell and having Satoko open the door for me, but if her uncle woke up at the sound, I'd waste my chance of him still being asleep. If Satoko saw me sneaking inside without ringing the doorbell, she'd be surprised. If I ran to her, what would I say? I've come to kill your uncle for you, so stay quiet. No, I couldn't do that. That would be like making Satoko responsible for his death. Be quiet and go wait outside. Maybe that would do it. How would Satoko react to that? She would probably try and get me to give up on killing him. I would have to lie to somehow to get her go outside. Satoko didn't need to know that a murder was going to occur in this house. I couldn't quite think of a good lie to tell her, but I couldn't do much just standing around like this. I made up my mind and grabbed the doorknob, then slowly turned it and pulled. It wasn't locked. The gap between the door and the wall steadily grew larger. The chain wasn't even on. The oppressive smell of life in Satoko's house hit me. At the entrance there were a few pair of shoes and sandals. I couldn't tell whether he was here or not just by looking at them. I could hear a television on somewhere. Wow, what a junkyard. The television was a messy dining room. There was food scattered about the table, giving an impression decidedly different from a happy family meals time. Meals were for eating food while thanking the person for making it, meaning whatever occurred in this dining room wasn't a meal. Nobody in sight, no sign of anyone either. But with the television on, he must have been close. Could he have been anticipated my coming and be hiding, waiting for me? The tension I felt was so thick, so tight that I thought it would choke me. The newspaper wrapping around the hatchet's thick blade didn't hamper his power at all. I tightened my grip on it, then carefully took a look around. Where had those peaceful feelings from before I arrived here gone? Even the sound of sweat bubbling up on my brow got on my nerves. And then I looked at the table and realized this wasn't breakfast. The grains of boiled rice were hard and dried up. And was it last night's dinner? I'd left the dining room, keeping vigilant, and went down the hallway, found the stairs to the second floor. When that man was playing with his friends, he looked out of a second-story window. It was highly possible that this room was his own, and that he slept there. I tiptoed the edges of stairs, quietly climbing without making a sound. I didn't hear any kind of snoring. I didn't hear anything up there. I went through a few rooms, slowly and quietly opening the paper doors, checking inside, but I couldn't find anyone around. To search more efficiently, I got down on the floor and pressed my ears right up to it. I could hear the television in the dining room and a low hum, perhaps of boiling water. It was then I started to harbor some feeling of suspicion. This house wasn't right. It seemed like people had been here since the TV was on, but it wasn't normal for nobody to be around this early in the morning. I silently descended the stairs and went back into the dining room. I looked at the food scattered about, completely dried up rice, an overturned bowl of miso soup. The package for a side dish bought at the supermarket. I could tell Satoko had definitely been the one who made this. The food was far from Mion's perfection or Rena's gentleness, but it was sincere. Judging by how she cooked for me at my house and from the type and amount of side dishes, I deduced the meal was from last night. The number stamped into the food package read 830620. What's up? June 20th, 1983. That was yesterday. And there was food for two, which meant that was last night's dinner, and Satoko's uncle would have been here then. Stop it, Keiji. Don't even think about saying the word impossible again. Anyway, her uncle was here last night. That much was the truth. He had found fault with Satoko's food, thrown the bowl of miso soup, and flung the rest everywhere. Hidden deep within my feelings of calm and composure was lit a flame of anger and a curse. Should I have ever shown this man any mercy? Bump. I heard the sound again, the one from before, like a water boiler. What was it coming from? The first floor? But where? The bathroom, maybe? Oh boy. I could hear the noise coming from the other side of the frosted glass at the far end of the changing room. It had to have been the sound of water boiler for the bath. Steam was enshrouding the glass floor, and the heat from it leaking into the changing room where I was standing to. My misgivings deepened. People didn't normally take a bath this early in the morning. If one did, then it would mean that in this house, time had stopped ever since some moments last night. Whistle, whistle, whistle. Was it being reheated? The water boiler in the bathroom had been active the whole time. I checked in the clothing basket and saw Satoko's familiar uniform stuffed in it. The uniform had stains and dried rice stuck to it, certainly not something she could wear today. It was probably from the miso soup at the dinner table yesterday. I looked hard at the frosted glass, but I couldn't see anything through all the steam. And then, an electric surged through my mind, and a terrible premonition came over me. She couldn't possibly have been in there since last night. That would be impossible, but no, in Hinamizawa right now, nothing was impossible. I gulped audibly, then quietly pulled aside the glass door. Hot steaming air burst out at the slide opening. The fan wasn't on in the changing room, so it wasn't completely white with the steam. Just as the hot vapor poured into the changing room, cooler air also flowed into the changing room with the bath, and I just heard, due to being hit by the air, a very weak moan. That was all I needed to know who it was. Satoko? No answer. Satoko was in the bathtub, surrounded by a thick layer of rising steam. Oh god, I'm already envisioning this in the anime. The top half of her body was leaning over the edge of the tub, and she was passed out. The water boiler kept on making a whistling noise as if angered, and I could see the gas flame through the small window. And it was roaring at full force, completely blue. Satoko's entire body was boiled red and flaccid, as though her bones had melted away. She was almost like a doll as she lay there unconscious. I wasn't sure how many seconds had passed as I stared in complete bafflement. I came back to my senses and promptly shut off the boiler and then dragged Satoko's small body out of the bathtub. The water in it was as hot as the water in public baths. Wasn't she in this boiling water for the entire night? She'll die! She'll die! Satoko's body was lighter than I expected as I laid her on the floor and wrapped her in a towel. I went back into the bathroom and opened up the vent for creating the path for a cool breeze to come through. Upon the breeze hitting her, Satoko moaned again. You'll be alright, Satoko. It's me, Keiji. Keiji! Can you hear me? Satoko recognized me and muttered a response, but I couldn't really tell what she was saying. Her eyes were muddy and unfocused. I could tell she wasn't completely unconscious. Upon closer inspection, What are those emotes you're using, may I ask? Her limbs and waist were twitching slightly. This was way worse than normal overheating. This was dangerous. Didn't they call this heat stroke? Ugh. Think, what would the teacher do if a girl passed out in the middle of summer during a marathon in gym class or something? I turned the water faucet in the kitchen all the way and soaked a towel in it. I then took the cold towel and pressed it in Satoko's forehead. Satoko reacted harshly to the coldness and let a muffled voice. For burns? Right, you would soak the burn spot under running water. Then, could I run cold water in the shower and cool her off like that? No, if that was sudden, it would have been good for her heart, and she'd go into shock. I think I read that once before. This was just as much as nursing as I could possibly give her. Anything more than this would be too much for the likes of an amateur. What happened, Satoko? You're alright now. I will. Your Nini will save you for sure. 5,039. 540. What was Satoko reciting under her breath? Brought my ear to her mouth to better make out the mysterious spell-like words she kept saying. And at that moment, I understood what they were for. Satoko, you're counting? Why? People tell little kids in the bath to count to 100, right? Satoko was counting like that, but 5,039? You idiot! How long were you supposed to count in your own bathtub? 10. I doubted my ears and doubted her common sense. She said 10,000. Holy Jesus! And thanks to the paper pirate. 10,000? You're an idiot! What kind of idiot can count to 10,000? There's no way you could do that. Well, I remember wasn't there some video where a guy actually counted to a million, then passed out after? You boil to death before you get that far. Why were you... My uncle... Last night, her uncle flew into a rage at the dinner table she made, saying it stunk and was inedible. Satoko didn't understand what on earth he meant. It wasn't much different than what she usually made for him. Maybe he hated the smell of the pickled vegetable she bought in particular. Her uncle then decided the stink was originating from Satoko and shouted at her that she never ever took baths. And then he put Satoko in boiling water and told her not to come out until she counted to... Oh! I'll kill you! Oh! I snapped and exploded. Raising the newspaper like hatchet, I stampeded through the house. I searched for everything. Traces, signs, smells, vibration, heartbeats. A war cry. I raced upstairs with such full force I could have stomped a hole through them. Then I found the futon in the room. Then I thought to be her uncle's, and well aware he wasn't sleeping in it, I bashed it with the hatchet. Did he run into the closet? I'll bust the entire closet down, door and all. And if he's not here, maybe there's a secret door. Any switches or levers in the wall here? I smashed it into the wall, wall after wall with the hatchet, crushing them. Dust rolled into the air, and broken pieces scattered about the floor. I smashed all the glass windows too, for good measure. Whoa! After I destroyed everything beyond recognition in our uncle's room, my reasons finally kicked in and suppressed my emotion. Anyway, her uncle wasn't in the house right now. Yeah, that's what I mean, he's going nuts. I'd have to leave killing him until later. Right now, I have to do something about Satoko. I went back to the changing room. Satoko was still lying limp on the floor. There was nothing more than an amateur like me could do for her. I needed to take her to the clinic. Coach had treated me like a lunatic yesterday and tried to lock me up in a mental hospital. I never wanted to see his face again, but I still needed to go to the infirmary one more time. Yeah, I usually avoid saying the curse words as well, young. Right, Usagi? Now, if you saw it in the anime, yeah. Oh, geez, at first glance, it's horrible, but it's gonna get worse here. Which, I mean, hint, Rika. There's something that happened to her. That's all I'm gonna say. I need to have a doctor look at Satoko. I thought about putting her in her dirty uniform lying in the laundry basket, but I had no experience dressing someone, so it would be pretty difficult. I don't have time to be wasting here. Right? Oh my god, at least they reveal more on that and why people go nuts in this series. I eventually gave up on clothing her and decided to carry her in their bath towel. The clinic was close to Satoko's house. It would be way faster to carry her there than to call 199 and get an ambulance. 199? I wonder if it's like that in the Japan, because I know it's like 911 in the States. I threw the biggest towel I could find for her and prompted her to stand. Can you stand? I'll carry you over to the clinic. Thank you. Her words sounded clearer than before. She was starting to come back. I cried tears of relief. Oh, nice, a sub on YouTube. Thanks for the notification though, Firefox.
Nice!
I cried tears of relief just knowing she'd improve even a little bit. Satoko turned over so she was lying in her face, and then put up a weak struggle to get up on my knees. I smoothly swept her up and put her on my back. The towel I put on her seemed like it was about to fall off. Towel, it hurts. We'll be there soon and won't be long, so stay strong. It didn't hurt one bit to carry Satoko. She was light. Too light. The lightness actually made me uneasy. Outside, it had gotten hotter as though eager to attack Satoko. Them cicadas. Why did it have to choose this morning to get so hot out? Dude, watch your language. I didn't have time to swear at them. The clinic was this way. Hoisting Satoko on my back, I broke into a trot. I think that's the end of part 1 for this chapter. I actually looked at the data for this, and there's actually 2 more parts to go. So I know there's the clinic, and then there's the shrine part next, based on the anime. The hilly road to the clinic, with which I never had difficulty before, was now torturous. Big beads of sweat formed on my brow. And at some point, my breath had grown faint. The hatchet in my belt was heavy and made it hard to walk. I considered leaving it, but I couldn't let it go. At least not while Satoko's uncle was still breathing. The signboard for Ide Clinic came into sight. Is that how you pronounce it, Usagi? Ide Clinic? No, Ide, came into sight. But I quickly noticed something was odd, so I stopped. Several red revolving lights were flashing at the clinic. 3 police cars were parked in the parking lot with their lights on. Again, just to be safe, let me turn on the sensor bar. That way, in case they reveal the spread, I'll have it set by then. 3 police cars were parked in the parking lot with their lights on. There didn't need to be much else to inform me something had happened. I didn't want to see Coach, so I planned to leave Satoko in the clinic waiting room and give the receptionist a message. But with that police officer Oishi here, I couldn't go inside so carelessly. Yeah, see what I mean? Let me fix that real quick. Alright, I think that should be good. What's going on? Why are there so many police cars? I gently put Satoko down in the shade of the thicket. I don't know. I'll go see what happens, so you stay here for a moment. Leaving a lady in a place like this, nothing but a bath towel, simply unforgivable. If you can still fire off those insults, you'll be fine. Yeah, I will say this: the Please Stand By image from the Fallout series. Yeah, I just like to use that as a censor bar. If you can still fire off those insults, you'll be fine. I better keep OBS open now. I'll be right back. I added getting to my feet. Cautious of my surroundings, I hid myself behind a car and got closer to the officers grouped at the clinic's entrance. I overheard an officer wearing a necktie, probably their leader, and a white-robed doctor having a discussion about something. The doctor didn't seem to be Coach. It was one of those who Coach told me to make the tea yesterday. So you were the first one to find it, since you were on morning duty. So then, what did it look like? He was sitting on the sofa in the head office. He looked like he was taking a nap. There was a jug and an empty bottle of sleep medication on his desk. So you immediately thought he had tried to commit suicide with it. What else? His high temperature and incontinence? I don't know. Indicated a severe disturbance of consciousness. So immediately I began to treat him. Without calling the police or an ambulance? This is a hospital and I'm a doctor. Since his life was in danger, it was my job to treat him at once. Yes, I understand. Okay, what else? His breathing was in disarray, so I put him on a respirator. I also administered breathing stimulants. It had no effect, so I prepared a medical ventilator and... right. So in other words, you did what you could, but it wasn't enough. That's it, right? You reported this as soon as he died. Yes. It was very unfortunate that we were unable to save him. Just then, a radio in one of the police cars started to buzz, producing a broken mechanical voice. This is HQ. Komiyama-san, can you hear me? Over. Hello, this is Komiyama. We've come up with something. It looks like he committed suicide with sleeping pills. No notes or anything. Suicide? What were they talking about? Someone had committed suicide at the clinic? But who? I wish Takano-san dead, and she died the next day. And yesterday I wish Coach was dead then. Could he have... Did he use sleeping medication regularly? I don't really know. Did he normally complain that he was tired or wanted to die? Well, Ide-sensei was normally so... well, himself. He never acted like that. So, I was right. Ide-sensei, they were talking about Coach. Coach killed himself. Why would he do that? There couldn't have been any reason he wanted to die. The only reason that came to mind was that I wanted him dead. This world was insane. Oh, it's about to get more insane, boy. If I wanted someone dead, yeah, I'm sorry for hinting so much. They die. That was the kind of world this was. Then what about Oishi? What happened to him? If people really died because I wanted them to, then something should have happened to him too. I've sent you backup. The chief wants you to leave the rest to them and get back to searching for Oishi's car. Yes, sir. Please excuse me then. It looks like we're getting relieved here, so please leave everything as it is now. Alright, let's go. The officer nodded and split up into the patrol cars. Did they just say searching for Oishi's car? Oh yeah, that's a perfect mix with this sound. Searching for his car. That meant he had gone missing? Takano-san, Coach, and Oishi. When I wished for it, the very next day, they disappeared. No matter how angry you were when you said you wish someone was dead, it normally didn't happen. Everyone knew just wishing for it wouldn't make them dead. And that's why people could utter such curses so lightly. But the curses I uttered were being granted. At the time, I hadn't even been walking, and yet, tap, I heard a footstep. And it wasn't only one this time, tap, tap. They came from behind, and they stood right behind me, reaching a hand for my shoulder. Oh, turn this on again. Would you mind tell me what's going on? Oh, Satoko, don't scare me like that. I'm the scared one here. I'd prefer if you didn't shout so suddenly. It was Satoko. Her eyes were still unstable, unfocused, but she seemed to at least walk on her own now. She looked far better now compared to her earlier exhausted state. How do you feel? Are you better? My head still hurts, but I can't stay outside looking like this forever. She gave a smile, a show of courage, but her legs were still shaky. Anyway, what on earth is going on? From what I just heard the police talking about, Coach apparently committed suicide. Eh? Satoko was at a loss for words. Her face grew paler and paler, and I could tell she was doubting her own ears. Keiji-san, is that true? I didn't mishear you. That's what I heard. They said Ide-sensei killed himself with sleeping pills. Satoko went down on her knees and broke out in tears. It can't be. Coach, he would never, ever kill himself. As I watched Satoko crying and clawing at the grass, I felt myself trapped by guilt and remorse. I got so angry at that Coach was treating me like a madman yesterday. That he betrayed me, that I thought he'd be better off dead. But even Coach, who to me deserved to die, still must have had people who loved and respected him. Like Satoko here. In my selfish, egotistical anger, I wished for his death, and it was granted. And now Satoko was crying hysterically as a result. The guilt tore at my heart. I worked myself up to the murder for Satoko's sake. I decided I wanted Satoko to be happy. Oh, hang on. There we go. But was that all it really took? Murder meant taking someone's life. It meant making everyone attached to that person sad. In Satoko's uncle case, of course, nobody would be sad. So I didn't feel a sense of guilt at all. But Coach's death was different. I had wanted to make Satoko happy, and that had resulted in me inflicting a deep sadness upon her, hadn't it? But Coach killed himself. It wasn't my... Satoko hadn't stopped crying, but she seemed to be a little calmer now. Wiping her tears off, she stood up. I'm sorry. And the only thing I could think of is to say to her was an apology. Oh, come on. What? Why are you apologizing? Well, yesterday I got into a fight with Coach, and I thought that I wanted him to die, and I wanted it, so he really... Satoko looked at me dubiously for a few moments. Eventually, her expression softened as she interpreted my own words in her own way. It isn't your fault, Keiji-san. Coach was an adult too. He felt like there was something he had to give his life for and chose to do it after a lot of worrying and suffering. It's not everyone's fault. She smiled a little, trying to comfort me. You know what the funny thing is as well? I'm probably gonna be using that please stand by image a lot in Dante's Inferno, and you'll understand why. I do not want to be naked forever. I want some clothes. Are you okay? Shouldn't you get someone at the clinic too? I won't die from putting my clothes on before going. Satoko readjusted her bath towel and started back along the path. Her stride was wobbly, and it didn't look like she'd recover as much as she let on. At first, Satoko tried to go back home, but it was time of the morning where people were starting to go to school and to work, so after seeing people walking around, she thought better of it. She must have been pretty embarrassed wearing only the towel. I'm going to Rika's house. My clothes should be here. What's wrong, Keiji-san? I'll save it for later. Satoko noticed how I was hanging my head and spoke to me. And you know, the one thing I'll mention for the people that are paying attention, like, I know people would use the yellow demonetized image with this, but for me, I like to stand out and just use something like this. Because obviously, I did love Fallout 3 a lot, and I do like Fallout 4 and New Vegas. Well, personally, I think New Vegas is like the best one out of the Elder Scrolls style game. Anyway, despite how he might have come off, Coach was an adult, alright? He would have certainly not have killed himself after a petty fight with you, Keiji-san. Please, stop blaming yourself. Ugh. At first I thought it was a coincidence, but with 3 people now, I couldn't discard the possibility. There was no such thing as impossible in this world. These past few days haven't made any sense. What hasn't? Satoko seemed to be having trouble breathing, but she still tried to listen to what I had to say. At the Watanagashi festival. Whoa there. The day before last, you went home on the way here, right? And I went there and had a lot of fun. So it would seem, I do apologize for getting so upset with you about it. Satoko remembered how she blew up at me in the classroom yesterday and bowed to me a little. If I said I actually didn't go to the festival at all, would you believe me? Satoko looked at me confused. She couldn't help it, of course. Of course I wouldn't believe you. What are you on about? You wouldn't, right? I don't believe it either. I mean, I didn't go to the festival, but everyone saying I hung out with them there. Nobody would believe it, right? Are you being serious? Yeah. Ever since the night of Watanagashi, everything's been messed up. These weird footsteps started following me everywhere. The blood drained from Satoko's expression. Footsteps? Following you? Yeah, I thought it was just my imagination at first, but they stayed with me. They're probably still there. I can't tell them apart because of your footsteps, though. Satoko took a long and hard look at me. Maybe she was doubting my sanity. Coach did the same thing. I mean, why wouldn't he tell him after this? The more I thought about it, the more I was unable to endure the feeling that my hatred for Coach had been meaningless. On the day of Watanagashi, I didn't go, I was doing something else. The whole time, I wasn't sleeping or unconscious or anything, so it's not possible that I had walked to the festival in my sleep and forgot about it afterwards. That is quite strange. Then how are you at the festival? That's what I mean. I didn't go to the festival. No, I can't let myself get emotional. If I had get agitated now, that'd be like proving that there's something wrong with my head. Ah, sorry. Well, nobody believes me, so yeah. If that's what you say, Keiji-san, oh, good grief, then I will believe you. Then what? That night, I saw Takano-san, and it felt like she was looking down on me. So I made a wish she would die. Takano-san does have that sort of air about her, doesn't she? I cannot say that I don't understand how you feel. Do you know that Takano-san died? It happened yesterday. Apparently she was burned alive somewhere. Is that true? She died? I wished for her to die, and the next day she was dead. And Oishi from the police too. Do you know him? That annoying and fat detective guy? Satoko nodded a little. I heard from the police earlier, but apparently he went missing. And yesterday, actually, I wished that he would die. Is this all true? I'm not lying. I don't want to believe it either, but it's true. Takano-san, Coach, and Oishi, I really wanted them dead, and then they really died. For a little while, Satoko was at a loss. A long silence ensued. What a scary story. I should be sure not to get on your bad side, Keiji-san. And that's not all. There's something even stranger. It's about your uncle. I would rather you not talk about my uncle. He was there yesterday, right? At your house? Could we please stop talking about him? I don't want to. It's impossible. He couldn't have been there. I said stop talking about him. No! No! That man... Oh, Keiji, when someone says stop, you stop, dude. Come on, man. That man couldn't have been there the night after the Watanagashi. Because No! No more! Please, no more about that man. I killed him with my own hands. Even the cicada stopped crying. Her face streaked with tears, even stiffened more as she looked at me in disbelief. On the night of Watanagashi Festival, I killed your uncle. So it's impossible. He could have gone back home. But still, he went back. And last night, he found fault with the dinner you made him and yelled all sorts of things of you, then basically boiled you in the bathtub. That could have been possibly that happened. So I wanted to make sure I'd actually killed him. So yesterday I wanted to... Oh my god, could you be a bit less TMI? So yesterday I went to dig up the corpse I buried. But the body wasn't there. Is that even possible? I killed him for sure, but there was no body. And he went home like nothing happened. Home to you, and that wasn't supposed to happen, was it? Satoko's entire body stiffened. She was shrinking away, like there was someone in front of her, about to hurt her. You probably think I've gone a little insane, don't you? I don't blame you. I can't believe it in myself. Keiji-san, I think you are very confused after all the people you wish dead coincidentally died. You're just in shock at Coach's suicide and you're really upset. I think you should stay home from school today and rest. I'll be fine, so please take care of yourself. Satoko spoke like she understood me, but she also told me to go home. I could see the revulsion in her face, and knew that she didn't want me to be around anymore. Once I show you to the clinic, I'll go home. Your legs are still shaking, aren't they? It would be impossible if you collapse halfway there. Really, I am fine now. I don't want to expose my naked self to a man any more than this. She wobbled up the shrine step, looking like she was about to fall. I immediately ran up to her and helped stay on her feet. Oh. God, I hope I don't get in trouble with YouTube for this. But then Satoko promptly jumped away from me. That outright rejection hurt a lot. Once she got to the top of the stairs, her breathing was ragged. She wasn't even looking at me. At this point, I was being ignored. Well, it was more like she didn't want to have anything to do with me, so it was a feeling of rejection, and that hurt my heart more than any blade could have. This was the path I chose for her sake. To be treated like this at the end of it all was just so saddening. Don't be naive, Keiji Maibara. You never want to be repaid in the first place. You didn't want to do it so that Satoko would thank you. You did it so Satoko would be happy, and that was led to this ending. Rika-chan's house was a disaster prevention storehouse used by the town council. Hang on a sec. If you went past it a little further through the shrine grounds, you'd probably reach the back of the assembly hall. Satoko was heading there, walking quickly, the gravel under her feet. English crunching as she went. Or that was a typo. Did she want to get there as soon as possible? Or did she want to run away? I couldn't tell. And then I heard the vigorous sounds of wings flapping. I turned around and saw a crow. I hadn't seen so many crows since coming to Inamizawa. Hang on. I know what's coming.
Oh no!
Yeah, that's what I mean. I saw a lot of them in my own old town, though. On garbage day, they flock to the trash collection and points, peck through the bags with their beaks, drag out the contents, and have a feast. As I was remembering that, I saw a few crows flocking around the shrine's donation box. And I thought how terrible it was for someone to leave a garbage bag in a place like that. The cicadas quieted. Breathing stopped. Thoughts ceased. Even time came to a halt. I ran over to the crows were flocking. I ran there in order to drive a horrible idea out of my mind. I definitely hadn't wanted this. There's no way I would ever wish for even something by mistake. This was not. When they noticed my vicious approach, the crows all flapped upwards, fleeing into the sky. When the crows' big black bodies flew away, they exposed the garbage bags. What I had seen here! The scream had escaped my throat before I understood what was I looking at. What's this? Satoko came over as well, realizing something had happened, and she looked over my shoulder. Then she screamed as well. This wasn't... The garbage bag was crimson dyed in fresh blood. Enough of this stupid roundabout way of saying it. That's right. Yes. It was Rika-chan. Our friend, Satoko's best friend. Oh, Jesus. Always easygoing. Clever as a cat, but it's so cute you couldn't hate her. Our friend, Rika-chan, she was... Rika-chan was stark naked. She was face up, limp sprawled. Her eyes was like glass, just staring up into the sky. And... Rika! Satoko broke down crying on the spot, and yet she still couldn't approach her friend's remains. The crows had gotten through the garbage bag and dragged, well, they dragged out an apple peel and spread it all over. No, no, crows, they couldn't do this. Oh, ah, woo! On the spot, I started vomiting. The sour taste became a bitter one as well as I threw up over and over again. Rika-chan, her stomach was quite cut open, vertically, completely open. Rika! Ah! Crows couldn't have done this. And from her open stomach, her organs, her bowels, her dragged out like a children's toy left all over the floor. That unbelievable sight induced oxygen deprivation in my brain. Color left my vision, a pounding headache, and I wanted to vomit. It was like the nightmarish remains of a ceremonial killing. Someone somewhere had killed Rika-chan, brought her here, laid there with her limbs sprawled out, and then cut open her stomach and dragged out her intestines. Red and pink viscera were sticking out of her gut, and her intestines were scattered in every direction like it had been for fun. The entire ground was covered in an ocean of red and black. A few of the other crows hopped around the ocean. They walked through the sea of blood, leaving bloody footprints, and those footprints were several still left on Rika-chan's body. Those sinister prints made it seem even more like a bizarre ritual killing. I may have wished for Takano-san and Coach and Oishi to die, but I didn't remember ever wishing for Rika-chan's death. Yeah, it wasn't me! It wasn't me! It wasn't me! I stumbled backwards and stepped on a newspaper. A newspaper in a place like this? This is how I'm feeling right now. Just reading all of that. Oh my god, I know I could already envision that through the anime as well. It's like, oh god. It was mortifying. The newspaper was covering my hatchet. I kept it wrapped up on my belt in order to carry Satoko, and that newspaper had fallen off. Sheesh, don't scare me like that. I bent down to pick it up, and then Satoko looked at me with such disbelief as I'd never seen and froze. She was looking straight at me at the hatchet on my belt. Calm down, Satoko. This isn't what it looks like. Satoko, trembling madly, backed away. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It wasn't. Murderer. She didn't care at all that she was exposing herself through the towel. She just trembled and tried to step back from the demon in front of her. Satoko, please, calm down. Please relax. Satoko, no, no! Screaming weakly, Satoko began to run unsteadily. Run away, that is. Wait, please, wait, Satoko, you're wrong. That's not it. The way she ran away was so weak and slow, so if I wanted to go after her, I could have caught up. But if I tried to grab Satoko's shoulder or something right now, she might actually go crazy. So I had to follow her and try to clear this up. You killed Takano-san and Coach and Oishi-san too, didn't you? You killed my uncle and then you killed Rika. You murderer! No, it wasn't me. I didn't kill her! What are you saying? You just said it yourself, did you not? You wanted them to die, and then everyone died, didn't they? Well, no, just wishing that they were dead that couldn't... You don't even remember what you did, do you? How can I trust a person like you? You don't even remember what you did, do you? How can I trust a person like you? Didn't your memory of killing them just slip your mind? No, maybe you're only pretending not to remember. Besides, what is that hatchet for? Try explaining that. It's for... See, Keiji-san, you are a killer, aren't you? Why did you do it? You were a little mean, but you were fun and kind, and I once even thought you might be my real Nini. Why did you turn into this? I might have been able to answer slowly each one of Satoko's questions at the time, but in this situation, explaining my innocence in such a short period of time was impossible. I mean, I didn't even know if I was really innocent anyway. At the very least, I killed Satoko's uncle. There was no body, but I killed him. Without a doubt. There was no body, but I killed him, even without a doubt. At that point, I was far from innocent, and I wish Takano-san, Coach, and Oishi were dead. And that curse of mine was granted. When I wished for Takano-san to die, I didn't think of anything more than a normal thing you say to someone you didn't like. But then she actually did die, and I realized if I wanted people to die, they would. And hoping it would happen again, I cursed Coach and Oishi to the same fate. So even ignoring Takano-san's death, Coach's and Oishi were completely premeditated crimes. Was I a killer, just like Satoko said? Just like Satoko said? Was I unable to distinguish between the illusion and reality, and turn to a demon without remembering it, becoming a killer who carried out Oyoshiro-sama's curse? No, that couldn't be. It was impossible. The very word impossible was impossible in Hinamizawa right now. How many times have I said that word in these past 3 days? Satoko had started crying again and walking unsteadily. At first, it felt like she was still running, but now... it's like she was just walking away crying from someone bullying her. Why? Why did things turn out this way? Why? If there was an answer to that, then I wanted to know it too. Why? Why did it turn out like this? After Nini went away, I was lonely for a long time, but then Keiji-san transferred to our school and everyone was happy again. It was fun again. Every day was beautiful. Yeah, she was right. She was right. Those days were bright and beautiful. And yet, after that, Satoko and I shouted the exact same thing. How did it turn out like this? The cicadas were sneering at the spectacle, our strange game of tag. Be quiet. Eventually, I heard the murmuring of a stream. The forest parted and a suspension bridge appeared. Satoko was crossing dangerously, wobbling as though she might fall at any moment, and when I stepped into the bridge, it swayed a lot, causing Satoko to stagger to fall on the spot. Satoko, are you okay? Oh, okay then. It's not like in the anime where she's actually in clothes. Don't come near me! You murderer! Satoko shouted, her hatred made very clear. It was sad. If words could cut, then this warmth flowing through my eyes would have been blood for sure. Why did you turn out this way? Keiji-san, I really liked you. I wanted to go up to her and give her a hand, but The difference between us was uncrossable. If I got any closer, Satoko would start shouting again and say things that would hurt me deeply again. So I couldn't approach any closer than this. Satoko, I don't know how things turned out like this either, but I can say this. I wasn't the one who killed Rika-chan. At least that is true. Please stop being so absurd! How did you expect me to believe anything someone who can't even rely on his own memories has to say? I tightened my hands into fist. This was mortifying. I wasn't crazy. Hinamizawa was crazy ever since I wandered into it, lost on that one night. This insane world where I was at the festival and when I wasn't, and the uncle I killed was alive. Where death would come just by wishing for it, it was this world's fault. Mion and Reno started acting strangely, like they were possessed by something too, and Coach wouldn't believe anything I had to say. And even Satoko, who I should have protected, was yelling at me like this. Was the price of killing this man supposed to be this high? Was I really going to be forced to stay in such a bitter world? I did the right thing, at least I wanted to. So then, why? I hated it. Every time I asked why, the day Satoko and I enjoyed in peace went so wrong. Satoko, please believe me. I'm not a murderer. What is that hatchet for? Can you give a convincing explanation like that? Is this hatchet scaring you? Okay, I'll throw it away. That's what you want, right? Satoko did not, but seems to be in agreement with that proposition. I clumsily took the hatchet out of my belt, then dropped it over the side of the bridge and the stream flowed. There, it's gone. Now you'll listen to me, right? You'll think I'll let my guard down just because you got rid of your weapon, Keiji-san. You're strong. It'll be easy for you to strangle me with your bare hands. Like I would ever want to kill Satoko. You idiot. Then what should I do? Should I put my hands on my head? Yes, why don't you? Please put your hands on your head and face the other way. It was a cunning plan, much like the one she used during club activities. Putting my hands on my head and turning away would mean I couldn't attack Satoko very easily. I immediately to her request, since it made her head feel better. To make her head feel better. Is this alright? Please listen to what I have to say. Satoko stood up, then carefully approached me from behind, and then she actually came up right behind me. And she was so close and yet so sad that I wasn't allowed to turn around. I sort of think I understand that isn't your fault, Keiji-san, huh? I think probably you just have been possessed by something evil. Until before, I thought Keiji-san was a killer, but now I know. After looking at your eyes, I could hear that Satoko crying, but her voice was gentle just the same. Keiji-san could never kill anyone. Something simply possessed his body and made him do evil things. Was she speaking literally right now? Or was she trying to admonish me? I couldn't tell. Come to think of it, maybe they were possessed, just like Keiji-san. At the time, I was only thinking I would be killed, so I didn't think about it, but now I understand. The work of something evil that possessed you. Satoko, what are you... It was like she was less like talking to me and more like she was talking to herself, like she was confessing at my back. I understand, you know. It isn't like I haven't experienced it myself. Satoko's voice started to become mixed with sobs. Her pained voice tore at my heart. But I didn't know what was Satoko talking about. I climbed to the top of the ritual storehouse once. It was a few years ago. Oh, they're bringing that one as well. Once, when Satoko was playing hide and seek at the shrine grounds, she climbed onto the roof at the storehouse for ritual implements, which everyone said not to go near and hid. Then Satoko said she could get in through a window meant for ventilation. For Satoko, the word curse was plenty scary, but she was more curious about what was inside the unknown storehouse. She took the remove grating on the window. Which was already hanging off, and slid her body into it and climbed down inside. It was too dark to see much. After descending, she realized how high she'd been. Despite the darkness, she could see a few things around her thanks to the faint light coming in from the air window, and to her disappointment, it was a regular old storehouse. She tried to leave, but the door was locked up, tied from the outside, and it was made to not open from within. She would have to go back through the ventilation window where she came in from, but the window was high in the wall, and there was no way she would be able to climb back up. Satoko desperately tried not to climb, racked her brain, thinking of a way to get up there. There was a lot of birdcage-looking things hanging from the chains, by chains from the ceiling. She took the hanging chains and strung them along the wall. If she climbed up the bundle of chains, she might be able to manage to climb up to the ventilation window. There was nothing else she could do, so she had to try. And try she did. It was dark and creepy, and she didn't want to stay there forever. The more she thought about that, the more she panicked. She climbed the bundle of chains. Satoko could hear clinks and clangs of everything creaking under her weight. And then, just as her hand reached the window, one of the metal fixtures she used to stick the chain on the wall flew off, and the chains all began to pull loudly and furiously every which way. Spurred by the sounds behind her, she managed to get back onto the roof from the window. Because of the weight of the flailing bundle of chains, the other fixture broke, and then one of the big bird cages hanging from the ceiling fell to the floor with huge noise. Under it was an image of Oyashiro-sama, his vessel, and the cage took off one of his arms and trapped some other implements beneath it. It didn't take long for her to grow scared of what she'd done. The deafening noise could be heard from the rest of the shrine ground. A few other children heard it and gathered around, and of course Rika was one of them. And then Rika's father, the shrine priest, with an angry look ran over. And then as for what happened next, it was painful to remember. The only one who knew where Rika's parents kept the key to the ritual storehouse was Rika. So she scolded her, saying that this happened because Rika pulled a prank and hid me in there. He was very angry and menacing, and just looking at him was enough to frighten anyone. He exposed Rika's back, took a strangely shaped ritual cane or something, and struck her with it several times. Rika's word at the time, "It wasn't me, it wasn't me, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." That pitiful voice, I still can't get it out of my head. I should have said it was me. I should have said so to save my best friend from that false accusation, about being afraid of Rika's father's terrible death. Rika gritted her teeth and cried at the crime she didn't remember doing. Ever since then, the world had been strange. I know, I understand, this is Oyashiro-sama's curse, his judgment for messing up the ritual storehouse and forsaking my best friend. Oyashiro-sama's curse. My father and mother too, they vanished in that muddy stream. My mean aunt died too, but then Nini, who loved me more than anyone, ran away from home, and then Keiji-san transferred in, and I thought I finally gotten my fun life back. But this time, Keiji-san was possessed, and even Rika got killed. There's something I heard once. Oyoshido-sama, when he really curses someone, he didn't kill him right away. He goes in order of your closest friend, and after killing all of them, he kills that person last. So Keiji-san, the curse got you too. I'm sure Mirena and Mion will be cursed next, and then they'll kill and be killed. No more, no more, no! Calm down, Satoko. There is no curse. Nobody's trying to torment you. When I turned around, I was thrust away with amazing force. Given my hands rockerly placed on my head, I couldn't take the fall and lost my balance. I've been pushed not onto the bridge, but to the side. Towards the stream. No, this can't be happening. Ah! As one last miracle, I was allowed to grab a cord hanging from the bridge. Far below me was the stream. We were pretty high up, and below the rocks of all sizes. If I fell clearly, it wouldn't be pretty. The entire bridge was tilting under my body weight. My frail little grip probably wouldn't last another minute before my fingers had to let go. Satoko! Satoko! I didn't understand myself what I meant by shouting her name then. Was I asking her to save me, or was I asking her why she did this? Finally, everything came back into focus, and I saw Satoko. And I was surprised at what an odd expression she had. It was the first time I'd seen it. It was an expression of righteous anger. Meant only those who needed to die. Die, you murderer! Give them back! Give back my Nini! Give back Rika and Mommy! And Keiji-san! As she screamed, she jerked the bridge to and fro. She didn't have to do that. I was going to fall anyway. I won't lose to the likes of you. I won't lose to some stupid curse. I will never, ever lose to you. You took everyone and I will never lose to you. Not ever. Satoko, please, just let me say one thing. I don't know what my face looked like at the time, but it seemed like it was enough to quell Satoko's agitation. I know that what I did isn't exactly praiseworthy. No, in fact, maybe I should have never done it at all, but I did it because I wanted you to be happy. Please, just believe that. You, at the very end, you're still pretending to be Keiji-san. Satoko didn't seem to have any more desire to listen what I had to say. And for that to happen at the very end like this was tragic. I didn't do any of it, so you would praise me. If it made you happy, that was all that mattered. We were nothing without your smile. We were nothing. So after I disappear, please smile. If you can get down with your new life by my dying, then please just smile. Can't you at least promise me that? Stop speaking. Don't use Keiji-san's mouth like that. Fall down. Die! And those are the last words Satoko ever said to me. Those sad, tragic, and altogether unrewarding words. What on earth was I? My desire to make Satoko happy ended up like this. Where did I first go wrong? And what was the mistakes I made? And when did I make it? Was I the crazy one, or was it Hinamizawa? Even after all this, I thought I wasn't crazy at all. It was just that this eerie world that was crazy. This world I accidentally wandered into that one night. Because that fun world where I never doubted all the crazy time we had as a club would go on forever. It couldn't possibly have transformed into such an abnormal world. That fun world would have never have ended with this, with Satoko pushing to my death. In the end, I was going to be swallowed up by this crazy world and disappear. No, I'd already disappeared. I probably already disappeared. Yes, probably on the night of Watanagashi. I'm pretty sure that in the world I really belonged to, I had vanished that night, and everyone was worried. It was laughable. that I had taken to figure out I wasn't around anymore. Oyashiro-sama's curse on the 5th year was Satoko's uncle dying and me disappearing. In the real world, Satoko had already been freed. Maybe my friends were all lamenting on my disappearance and valiantly trying to get back on their feet. And even though they were down to 4 people, the club would reopen, and they would have a good time without me, waiting for the day I would come back. I'm sorry, everyone. I couldn't come back home, but this is what I wished for. It was my wish for Satoko's smile and my duty as her Nini. At this point, there will be nobody left to torture you, because Satoshi and I, it took 2 years, but we succeeded. That annoying toothy smile of yours, we wanted to see it one more time. My pain wasn't gentle or merciful. It was the sharp pain, violent, powerful, and ruthless. What little compassion I had receded in the span of a moment. And now I could die. I could say goodbye to this insane world. Farewell, crazy Namizawa. Thanks for giving me the psychic power to kill people whenever I wanted. If you'll still allow it, I'll wish for one thing. The death of this very world, of this crazy Namizawa. Yeah, I have to use old young Joseph in this one as well, so that nobody would ever again have to find themselves lost here again. That, I know I've seen this in the anime, but oh my god, that was quite a ride in this chapter. Research notes. Last tip for this one. Oyashiro-sama. Nobody really knows what characters used to write Oyashiro-sama. Knowing this is pretty hard, partly because depending on the time period, he has been called with various titles with subtle changes to his name. But nobody knows the real one. The only thing all time periods agreed is that on the 4 syllables, O, Ya, Shi, and Ro are always used. There's a theory the shrine, or Yashiro, dedicated to Oyashiro-sama, itself became an object of worship, and that people began calling it Oyashiro-sama, or Lord Honorable Shrine, but this doesn't make any bit of sense. I don't know whether this is related, but people say the Furude family, the most respected bloodline in terms of worshipping Oyashiro-sama, actually inherited his blood. You don't say! And in the legend, the Furude family passed down, if for 8 generations in a row, the firstborn child is a girl, the 8th daughter will be the reincarnation of Oyashiro-sama. Stop making it obvious, game! If we go by this legend, the characters used for Oyashiro-sama should be O for honorable, Ya for 8, and Shiro for generation. These character assignments are simply something I thought up. There's no way to verify it. If this is true, then Oyashiro-sama would have been named as such under the assumption he would come again. The second coming of an object of worship can be seen in several religions, so this wasn't unusual. But a few of these religions called the second coming of their object of worship a day of judgment, or something along the along those lines, and we must not forget they mean it to be the end of the world. Rika Furude, pampered and loved dearly by the elderly folk in the village. The rumor said that she is the 8th generation, and Oyashiro-sama. I do not know the family tree of the Furudes, but at the very least I can confirm for the past 2 generations, the first child has been a girl. Rika Furude watches over Hinamizawa. If the village were to lose her protection, what would happen? Would peace between man and demon be lost? Would it happen once again to create an unholy landscape where man-eating demons run rampant? A gruesome feast of the demons who suddenly remembered how delicious the weak humans were? Or who could only cry, scream, run for their lives? What would that look like? Just imagine it. It's to make my heart pound with excitement. Well, I just got all the achievement for reading all the tips. I'll save here. Chapter 12. Or chapter 13 now. My head was pounding. The sky was bright. It was cold too. It hurt. Such sensations I felt led to a new and different one different awakening. When I came to, I was lying face first on a dry river bed. A few body parts hurt a lot. The skin over a bunch of my joints were torn and turned blue or red or oozing blood. And I could tell it was my bones that were in pain from the agony whenever I moved. I looked up and saw how high the bridge from which I fallen was. Considering I dropped from there, it was a miracle that I could open my eyes again. Right next to me was a broken, upside-down car seat, which I guess some pranksters have brought here. Maybe this thing had been conveniently lying right under me, allowing me to escape instant death. Miraculous. Of course, I didn't know whether this was a miracle, was unfortunate or unfortunate. I'd failed to die, and now I was still stuck in this insane world. How long had I been unconscious for? The sun was high in the sky, so it looked like only 1 or 2 hours had passed. But my body's sluggishness didn't make it feel at all like so short a time had gone by. Mentally, it felt like I'd been asleep here for a decade. The more feeling returned to my body, the more the pain flooded in. It hurt so much, it would have been better not to have woken up. I needed to get to a doctor. Yeah, to Coach's clinic. The term Coach's clinic brought memories back one after another. Memories I wish I hadn't recalled. Satoko was no longer on this bridge. She would have returned to Hinamizawa by now, and she would put on some clothes and go to a clinic and get a checkup and report on how crazy I had seemed. The police were waiting for me without a doubt. This time, would they find out for real that I killed our uncle and arrest me? Or would they just send me to a mental institution like I thought they might? Still, I didn't care for which it was. Please, someone stop all this pain. You can boil me or cook me after that, whatever you want. I began to walk unsteadily, just limping along. I went downstream and went through an animal-like trail path in the woods. I walked haphazardly for a path I knew. I eventually came across a familiar road and set off towards the clinic. Not to my house, but the clinic, which had treated me like a lunatic. It was hot and humid. There was no wind, and the air was stagnant. For a while now, I've been smelling the terrible stench of burned eggs, and it made my face scrunch up. And then, at last, I noticed something. I couldn't hear any cicadas. It was the first time I heard Hinamizawa be so utterly silent. When I thought back, it seemed like the birds always chirped in the morning. Cicadas always cried loudly in the afternoon, and Higurashi's always rose up in a chorus in the evening, always something to hear. I couldn't hear a single insect. The only thing I could hear was the rustling of wind brushing the treetops. I never experienced this sort of quiet before. Even the only sound coming from the trees lacked life somehow. The trees were yellow, and many trees' leaves were spread on the ground. Despite being too early for autumn, even the weeds that had been growing so persistently at the side of the road had yellowed, browned, and lost their vigor. Only that sunlight itself was of the June Hinamizawa I knew, and yet it seemed like the seasons had all switched out all of a sudden. Looking at the fallen leaves and rotting weeds led me to a spot a few insects turned on their backs. They weren't moving. They were corpses. I looked together to see insect corpses scatter around, like a child that collected them as samples and then strewn them about. This stench, what was it? It was terrible, like burned eggs, combined with all the bug corpses and falling trees in the summer. Had someone sprayed herbicides or pesticides around here? Even at school, we apparently fumigate. They called it pest disinfection or something once or twice a year. I hadn't run into anybody despite how bright it was outside. It was mid-afternoon, yet it felt like I was sauntering about at midnight. Well, with this smell, nobody would want me to be walking around outside. Just what was this anyway? There was no sound, no noise, not even a breath. Hinamizawa was silent. Well, you got what you wished for. The school would come into view right after turning this corner, and yet I couldn't hear any commotion at all. None of the shouts or grunts that children always made. It was simply quiet. Just as pretending to ignore the silence had grown intolerable, I saw the school. And finally I heard something. It was the sound of a few trucks. There were very few tall trucks parked in the schoolyard idling, and about 10 workers in raincoats were unloading things in their trunks. It was so hot and humid even in my casual clothing. I couldn't imagine how unbearable that must have been. And then I remembered, our school was rented from the Forest Service field office building, wasn't it? And it wasn't strange at all for the Forest Service trucks to be doing some kind of work in the schoolyard. Besides, what do forest rangers do anyway? I felt bad for them having to work in such heat and with such a stench about. They were taking a colorful cargo out of the truck and lining up in the schoolyard. They were containers, fairly large ones, inside multicolored patchwork bags. Heavy too. They were carried in pairs. They lined up very neatly, like tuna at a riverside fish market. Several dozens, hundreds of tunas were completely filling the fairly wide schoolyard up. I forgot my pain for a little while, captivated by the big forest ranger job I'd never seen before. As I stood up there, walking in a daze, the people in raincoats working on the other side noticed me. One of them pointed out and they shouted a few things back and forth. I thought they might yell at me for getting in their way, so I decided to leave post haste. But then 2 trucks drove behind me and stepped aside, and they entered the schoolyard. Sheets covered their trunks, but I could tell they were completely full. As they passed, there was an awful smell that made me want to choke. It wasn't the same as smelled eggs before, but even worse one, like rotten crab meat. What on earth was it? Oh boy. I'd been enshrouded in one terrible stench after another all day. Then certain white letters emblazoned on the eye of the passing, emblazoned on the side of the passing trucks caught my eye. Ground Self-Defense Forces. What? Self-Defense Forces like the army? Why was the army in the schoolyard? Hey, you! Where did you come from? Suddenly, someone slapped me on the shoulders from behind. I turned around, and a canopied SDF Jeep was parked there. The SDF person had a green raincoat and gas... How do you misspell that? Seriously? Like, I wanted to look through all the codes and just fix the typos. Jeez. in the movies carrying a compressed air cylinder. He didn't look normal, and there wasn't an inch of exposed skin anywhere. Where did I... Ow! When I tried to talk, I stretched a wound on my head. It made the SDF people exchange glances. I couldn't see their faces through the mask, but they seemed surprised. Do you live in Hinamizawa? Can you tell us your name and address? Well, yeah, I sort of live here. My name is Keiji Maibara. Oh, and my address... Hinamizawa Shishibone. After seeing them tell my name and address without hesitation, one of the SDF people watching from the Jeep started talking into a radio. Base, do you read? Base, do you read? We have a 402 survivor discovered. I repeat, we have a 402. We found a survivor. He's in front of the Forest Service office. This is Base, we copy. Secure the survivor at once. What is his status? Healthy. Wounded all over, but not fatally. He can walk on his own. We'll send him to HQ for safety. I was prepared to go along with the police, but the SDF, I couldn't help but think it seemed a little bit much. They urged me to go into the back of the Jeep. And then they told me they had to put this gigantic gas mask. I did so, and one of the troops fiddled around with it, strapping it tightly on me. It was heavy, hard to see him of the hot and difficult to breathe. Oh, it was heavy, hard to see out of, hot and difficult to breathe. Just looking at this world through the lenses made it lose its sense of reality. Its breathing sounded like some giant monster through a mask, or Darth Vader. At this point, I had no idea what was happening. With much trepidation, I asked the trooper adjusting my mask, excuse me, has something happened? Where were you? What were you doing? Hey, don't answer a question with more question. I was the one asking you. I, fell a rope bridge way back in the mountains. I think I passed out on the riverbed. I don't actually know what day it is. Today is June 22nd, 1983, Wednesday. That surprised me. Satoko pushed me off the bridge on Tuesday the 21st. That meant I've been asleep on the riverbed for the entire day. Forgive me for asking again, but did something happen? Why is the SDF here? Is this a drill? Had my question been that difficult to answer? Difficult for him? None of the troopers will answer me. The one in the driver's seats, talking on his own radio, turned on the vehicles. He had turned the dial and some broadcast station or another came in. I started to listen to the voice of the radio announcer I was familiar with. Was conducted at the Prime Minister's office. Regards to the question from the press that the SDF not responding to the disaster promptly was directly related to the unprecedented, unheard of catastrophe. Chief Cabinet Security Okuno had this to say, and so I believe that once the SDF received the dispatch order from the prefectural governor, they responded promptly. According to him, the SDF was prompted to respond to the crisis after receiving their orders. He implied that it was the prefecture responsibility for taking along to comprehend the situation. When did the governor who requested the SDF dispatch actually become aware of the outbreak of such an unprecedented catastrophe? And did he not invite further damage because of the time before he sent the request for the disaster relief? In other words, because of the bureaucracy? We are waiting further investigations into the matter. That was Mr. Okada. What is going on? Reporting from the Prime Minister official's office. At this point, we can take another look at the political responses following this disaster. In the middle of the night between June 21st and 22nd, a large-scale disaster broke out in Hinamizawa village, Shishibone. The details have not been investigated, but there was an eruption of volcanic gas from somewhere in the Hinamizawa era. The gas was relatively heavy as it spewed out and it began to flow. That flow went down along a small river and headed directly into Hinamizawa village. After a few hours, it covered the entire region. It happened in the middle of the night. 2 to 4 a.m., every home and household in the village was afflicted. With most of the residents asleep, it is thought that all died without noticing the cries. I am sorry, I had to laugh at that. The catastrophe striking in the middle of the night caused its detection to come too late, but there was one small opportunity to have noticed it. 3 a.m., a news dealer shop in Okinomiya sent a vehicle carrying the morning newspaper to its branch in Hinamizawa. Usually the shop would be contacted upon the vehicle's arrival, but this morning that didn't happen. The news dealer shop made repeated calls, but got no response. The shopkeeper sent his eldest son to check on things, but they lost contact with him as well. It is extremely regrettable. If they had contacted the police or fire department at this point, it is highly possible that the situation would have turned out more positively. At the very least, it's possible that the portion of the village have been saved from the tragic annihilation. 6 a.m. Residents in areas in the same region began continuously calling 199 to report the smell of rotten eggs, dizziness, nausea, and headaches. The fire department received the same reports, all the same from the confined region. They speculated a truck loaded with chemicals may have gotten into the accident and reported it into the local office. 6:30 a.m. Contact was lost with the patrol car on duty in the Hinamizawa area after the officer reported the smell of rotten eggs. Oh, sorry. The local police considered the possibility of a large-scale disaster involving highly lethal gas and reported it to the prefecture and prefectural police at 7:15 a.m. 8 a.m. The governor was traveling to a nearby prefecture for inspection, so in accordance with regulation, the prefectural environmental disaster prevention chief was provisionally escalated to Director General and set up a disaster countermeasure office. However, without contacting the officer, the countermeasures came too late. As it recently been pointed out by the citizens groups, his trip with honorary Diet members to inspect other prefectures has based solely on good relations, and it's rumored they preoccupied themselves with a drinking party. Sources closer to him claimed the governor had been drinking all night and had gone to sleep in a drunken state. He was completely drunk. Yeah, he was completely drunk when the environmental chief phoned him as well, and apparently he could not get him to pay any attention to the matter, and so it took about an hour for the governor to sober up, gain an understanding of the situation, and gather information. Though not as extreme as the governor's case, the environmental chief, who quickly became Director General in the governor's absence, will likely also be questioned about his negligence. In addition, without any procedures in places on the prefecture side that predicted catastrophes this massive, they would always react too late and ended being fatal. 9:12 a.m. On the advice of the prefectural police, the governor requested a disaster relief mission from the SDF. By the time the chemical defense units equipped with protective equipment arrived on the scene, 8 hours had already passed since the incident's outbreak. Whatever the case may be, it was unfortunate this happened while everyone was sleeping in the middle of the night. Had the same disaster occurred during the day, it likely would have been entirely different. All households in the Hinamizawa region were wiped out. Village region were wiped out. There were over 1,000 victims. The SCF is still confirming the situation on the ground, but their results are predicted to only increase that number. Here with us in the studio today is Dr. Fujiwara, a professor at university who is well acquainted with volcanic disasters. Doctor, can such a sudden and horrible outburst of poisonous gas actually happen? It wasn't at all unusual for this to happen right around the craters, at least. Japan is a volcanic nation, and so has many active volcanoes. There's always a danger of hazardous gases around any of these craters. It's generally a rule among mountain climbers not to go near them. Does this mean the rotten egg smell that visited Hinamizawa was the normal sort of gas from the volcanic craters? Judging by how it smelled like rotten eggs, we think it was hydrogen sulfide, a gas seen particularly frequently in accidents compared to other volcanic gases. If it's dense, it becomes extremely dangerous. Hinamizawa is very far away from the craters of any volcanoes. Can hydrogen sulfide be generated from a place not close to a crater? I don't know all the details, so I can't say anything concrete. But I imagine, in other countries, there are records of gas eruptions due to the magma built up under hot springs. It's an extremely rare event, but it is possible for such a thing to happen even in a region not near craters. Thank you very much, Doctor. We appear to have an announcement for the Japan Defense Agency. Miss Morikawa, are you here? Yes, I'm at the my God, I can't read right now. I'm at the Japan Defense Agency. The agency had just made an announcement regarding the source of the Hinamizawa village disaster. Analysis from the Ground Self-Defense Force Department of Chemistry has found that the gas was a mixture of carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide. Miss Morikawa, do you know whether the gas is still erupting or spreading to nearby areas? According to the STF 9th Division, who are currently engaged in a rescue operation at Hinamizawa village, the gas density is steadily decreasing. They've announced that the damage will not spread. However, it does not change the fact that surrounding areas are still in danger, and that very strict observation must be obtained. That was Miss Morikawa from the Japan Defense Agency, and now we have a report on the state of those who have been made to evacuate the Okinomiya area. Shinosaki Elementary School is one of the evacuation sites, and we currently have a reporter on Wait, what? Inside the jeep, clambering and bouncing along the rough road, none answered my muttered question. An unprecedented catastrophe had destroyed Hinamizawa in a single night. Where was Hinamizawa village anyway? Someplace deep in the mountains, right? Names of places I've heard about on the radio were always like that. They were all places I'd never heard of, much less the locations I knew of. Wiped out? What does that mean? Don't they usually say how many died and how many were injured? How many people were alive? Where did everyone evacuate to? Eventually, we came into view of Coach's clinic. For the first time, I saw the flag of Japan hanging on the pole outside. Japan's circular sun hung down as though exhausted. Many SCF tents were set up in the clinic's big parking lot, and many strict security vehicles parked there as well. When they saw the jeep coming, men in white clothing and gas masks came running out of the clinic, frantic, carrying a stretcher. You're going to be alright. How do you feel? Can you walk? Yes. Ow! Ow! And because of my owls, they forced me to lay on the stretcher anyway. People who seem like doctors were looking at me and notifying others of my condition via radio. Multiple wounds, high possibility of fractures and internal damage, large laceration in the head, pupils normal, but not without bleeding from the fundus. Brain damage is still possible, and then, from the clinic's entrance, people lying on stretchers were brought outside to replace me. Judging by their clothing, they were from Hinamizawa, and that's how I knew they were victims. They brought me the stretchers in front of a truck. 2 troops holding shoulders and legs, like some kind of baggage, picked them up and threw them into the trunk. What? In the trunk of the trunk, people's bodies piled in heaps. They were, oh, good grief. They were just like baggage, and that told me they were already nothing but shells. At the moment I remember, all those colorful sacks filling the trunks, and them lined up in the schoolyards like a fish market. Hundreds of empty shells, corpses, 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 corpses! You idiots! Don't just throw victims like that. They lived here. The troops carrying the sacks answered me with a humble salute. The world didn't need this insane version of Hinamizawa. My final wish, again, it was granted. I didn't understand anything anymore. None of it mattered. I wish I cursed and then it happened the next day. Please, then please, tomorrow, let me die. That insane night is still going on, please. Please end it already. Hey, he's lost consciousness. Shout his name, quickly! Maibara-kun! Can you hear me? If you can hear me, just blink. Maibara-kun! 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 Suddenly, the world didn't matter to me anymore. I wasn't interested in their cries. His breathing stopped! Get his respiratory tract open! Use CPR! Make him live! No more dead people! Nobody deserves to die! Don't kill him! Don't kill him! I could hear the voice of the man crying, screaming in my ears. Nobody deserves to die. Those words come from his heart. They were so commonplace, and they soaked into my heart too. Maybe it was a mistake to take someone's life, even if it was to save Satoko. If this is the price I had to pay, this horrible tragedy, then this is a little much, Oyashiro-sama. Why did you never punish me? Come to think of it, Satoko said something. Oyashiro-sama's actually curse never goes to the target at first, but kills everyone they love before that. Oyashiro-sama's curse. It was a convenient excuse, but I told myself at the very end, that wasn't my curse that destroyed it, but Oyashiro-sama's. Given I was in a stretcher, the next bit might have been obvious, but last of all I realized one thing. Yeah. Today, I had not heard those footsteps following me, even once, and now I was liberated, and the cries of the Higurashis I couldn't have been hearing filled my mind, and their tearful ensemble was only the funeral march I had. June 23rd, early morning, a widespread disaster occurred in Hinamizawa Shishibone Prefecture. Yeah, I don't think I could read all of this, so for the people on YouTube, pause it and go wild, since it just goes on its own. Wow. You know, even though I saw the anime, which was, of course, Rush, honestly, I'm just really speechless reading this in the visual novel. And that says something right there. Yeah, there's one more thing I gotta read. There's like the after, like the party thing like before, and then we could just. I want to do Hima Tsubushi next, but I want to play more Borderlands 3 now. Plus, it'll make up for like the past 5 days. I hope. The Hinamizawa syndrome. The Great Hinamizawa Disaster Memoriam List. Oh, Jesus. Reina Ryugu. Not Rena. Oh my god, even Shion? Oh my god. So now there's finally credits. So, what do you think, Usagi? Especially with an ending like that. Holy Jesus. 2003, late summer. An elderly couple living in Osaka Prefecture discovered a cassette tape while organizing the possessions of their son, who passed away 8 years ago. Their son went missing when his fishing boat capsized in 1995. He was 47 at the time of his death. 8 years later, in 2003, they began to organize their son's remains in order to organize their mind and come across the cassette tape in question. From 1975 to 1989, the deceased had experience working as journalist for a photography periodical, and this tape is thought to have been created during that time. The label on the tape read 11/28, or November 28th, 1983, Keiji Maibara. It is thought that the tape was recorded during an interview with Keiji Maibara, the only survivor of the Great Hinamizawa disaster that occurred in June of 1983. As the only person who lived through the disaster on the night of June 21st, shrouded in mystery, many interested party attempted to question him, but he never once spoke physically to anyone in a public place. Therefore, the tape caused quite a stir, possibly being of extremely high value. Click. It's really hard to talk about the stuff when I know I'm being recorded. Please, don't worry about it. Here, it won't be a problem if I do this, right? After this, the sound quality dramatically decreases. Did he cover the recording device with something? Then let's get started. Here's my first question, KG-kun. Were you the night of the great disaster? Where were you the night of the great disaster? I had gone behind the shrine, then took a path through the woods for a while. There's a rope bridge here, then a little before you get into the mountains. I fell there and lost consciousness. Did something happen during the night of the disaster between 21st and the 22nd? No. It was morning of the 21st on Tuesday, which means I woke up on the afternoon of the next day. I think I was out for a day and a half. Why on earth were you there? I mean, I'm sure everyone wants to know, but the bridge you fell from that day, a weekday, I might add, was quite far from your house and the school, wasn't it? Speaking frankly, there are some people who say you knew of the great disaster beforehand and fell from the rope bridge as if you were trying to flee the village. This isn't a joke. Please don't be so arbitrary about this. I think it's a terrible thing to say too, but please don't be offended. Anyway, about the rope bridge you fell from, it was right there on the map, right? Rope bridge beyond the back of the shrine and through the path in the woods, probably. I never went over there, so I can't say for sure. I guess I wanted to know why you were out. You never been before on a weekday morning. And then, well, about the riverbed you fell unconscious on. Have you heard rumors about that being impossible? Impossible. That word. Again. For a little while, Keiji Maibara mutters the word impossible several times. Why would it be impossible? You know how the volcanic gas originated in the Onigafuchi swamp? Some scholars did some pretty delicate simulations and modeling and discovered something very interesting. The volcanic gas was heavier than the air, so it went along the grounds, flowing into lower and lower places, kind of like the water does. And with Onigafuchi swamp as a source, they were able to test how much time it would take for the gas to erupt and spread across the whole village. So, well, that riverbed you were unconscious on, the gas, it would have flowed down there. I don't really understand what you're getting at. In other words, if you really passed out on the riverbed, you would have been in the middle of all the toxic gas spreading everywhere that night. That means you had no chance you could have passed out there. Allow me to be a little more frank. I think that maybe you might be telling a lie. During the great disaster, you were hiding in a safe place, keeping an eye out for when the gas got thinner, then reappeared and were secured by the SCF. How about that? Is that right on the mark? For a short time, the journalist presses Keiji Maibara further in a teasing way, but all that can be heard was heavy sighs. Even if that was the case, I wouldn't be surprised at this point. What do you mean you wouldn't be surprised? Was the recording really taken of Keiji Maibara? Some harbor suspicions? You said it before, didn't you? That was impossible? Impossible things happen in that Inamizawa all the time. There are people who shouldn't exist. Dead people end up alive. It's not really that unusual. Never thought I, of all people, would be asked to prove that I was still alive when I was supposed to have died. The journalist and Keiji Maibara laughed for a while. To verify its authenticity, I had others in the Maibara family check tapes with voice in it. The sound was not clear, and much time had passed, so the relatives I checked with couldn't remember what he sounded like. I was unable to gain positive proof that it was actually Keiji Maibara's voice. Alright then, I'll change the subject. What do you think about the debate Whether this disaster was the curse or the 5th year of a serial freak death incident in Hinamizawa, I don't think it was. I was the curse that year after all. Hmm? What do you mean? I was just answering the question. Doubts also remain regarding the date November 28th written on this tape. The curse, well, you probably won't believe me when I tell you this. I was the one who caused it. I was the one who wished for the whole village to die, and it happened. What an exciting story. Exciting? I suppose you could call it that. After Maibara Keiji's failed suicide attempt on a certain August day, 2 months after the disaster, he was diagnosed with a mental disorder and transported to a treatment facility. I was the one who killed Takano-san and Coach and Oishi too. At the time, I had some kind of divine power. Yes, I suppose it was like footsteps. Footsteps? Wait. What's that supposed to mean? You have never heard footsteps before. Tip tap, click click, coo. The facility never allowed any news coverage, so it's extremely unlikely that a tape from the media dated after August 1983 would have had his voice on it. Today, when you're walking around, try stopping suddenly. Something interesting would happen. Anyway, if you heard an extra footstep, even if though you'd already stopped walking, you'd better be careful, you know. Yes, I'll be careful. Is that what I'm saying really funny to you? However, the reporter had been criticized for his forceful method of collecting data while he was active, so there's still a possibility that he broke into the facility and forced Keiji Maibara to talk. You've been doing nothing but laugh in my face the whole time. You're just like Coach. You pretend to sympathize with me, to listen what I have to say, but your eyes are telling me you think I'm a lunatic. That's not true. No, I can tell. Your eyes are already the same as Coach's. Is this truly Keiji Maibara's voice? The authenticity of this recording is still wrapped in mystery. I never heard the footsteps after that day, so I don't think I have that terrible power anymore. Perhaps right here and now, I'll wish for you to die. I'll wish for your death for all saying all these unpleasant things. Yes, this time, why don't I decide how you die? Takano-san was burned to death, so let's go with the opposite with water. I hope you drown and die, how's that? Well then, 15 years after the tape was created, the reporter, just as Keiji Maibara predicted, died in an accident out on the sea. If I'm in top form like I was then, you die before tomorrow morning for sure. Now then, I wonder how many days it will take you to drown. You'd better be careful, you know. Don't go getting yourself killed by some stupid curse I put on you, okay? The recording ends in the middle of Keiji Maibara's laughter. And Keiji Maibara late on the night of November, 2 days after the interview, he suddenly died from a high fever, cause unknown. Recordings remain of the strange words he kept giving after the press call the day before he died. And an extra set of footsteps. Wow. A new scenario has been unlocked, so there's that. I'll get to that. So, what do you guys think? Wow, that was. And the anime was like, it's so rushed, I didn't know how to feel, but I am just speechless with this arc. Alright, all cast review session, and then we'll jump to Borderlands 3. Thank you very much for enjoying Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 3, Tatarigoroshi. How'd you like it? It was a different sort of atmosphere than the previous chapter. Well, yeah, I would be happy if you enjoyed it, and yeah, I did. A bad end again, the type we're so fond of, huh? Personally, I'd like to get a scene of gas coming in, the villagers spasming and foaming out of the mouth one by one before dying. Do you all think so too? Of course I do not think so. Again, it happened again. A huge bad end. Cuckoo. Huh? Mii-chan, you sure seem happy about the bad end. Well, it's more like we can all honestly do this at this point is laugh. The terrible endings have been escalating through each chapter. Well, yeah, it seems like it. And finally reached a culmination, I suppose. Yes, it did. Everyone died. Everyone died together as friends. Nipa. I guess you could say that. And I die every time though, and I'm getting a little tired of it. It would be nice to have an ending where I didn't die once in a while. Tomitake-san, you're kind of a news reporter. When you die, it's like, oh, we're in the second half now. You didn't answer my question, Usagi. How'd you feel about this whole thing ending? Like, oh my god, I'm just speechless. In the second half. Oh, we're in the second half now, kind of. Okay, now we are all here. The new character portraits that debuted in this chapter. Everyone give a big round of applause. This is Coach Ire Kyosuke-san. I'm honored to have your introduction. Hello there. I was a minor character, but having a full portrait like this makes me really feel important. I still feel sorry for Keiji, though. Yeah. I think that's kind of why I like this series so much. Like, it isn't like your typical yandere stuff you see today. It's like an actual mystery series with cute anime girls. It's true. You had too many appearances and too much dialogue to be a minor character this time. I don't know if I'll appear in the next scenario, so please root for me. But will Keiji be the next character? Thank you very much. Next up we have Chie-sensei, who's been around since chapter 1, but never had a portrait until now. Hello there, everyone. They have had me appear in the school scenes ever since the first chapter, but for whatever reason, I didn't have my own portrait. I wonder why. Yes, I wonder. Oh, someone give Chie-sensei a seat, please. Okay, now everybody is here. Rena, you can do the honors again. Okay, everyone, please pick up the cup nearest to you on your table. There are plenty of different drinks. These after parties have gotten really lively. How many do we have here now? Including us, I think there are about 10 people. Now we'll finally have the same number of minors and adults. We can all drink without being ashamed. Speaking of beer, how is it that something so delicious which turns cold so bad when warm? One of the 7 wonders of the world, I say. I wonder why. Okay, I'll pour some beer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, huh? There are 6 adults here. Me, I would like to have foamy barley. Oh, I would like to have foamy barley tea as well. Mika-chan, you can't drink. Anyway, Renaissance, let's get this moving. Okay, can I have everyone's attention, please? Alright, everyone. Excellent work on the Tatarigoroshi chapter. Cheers! Cheers! Yay! Okay then, let's get down to our traditional plot discussion. Still though, this chapter just confused us yet again. Well, if anyone has an opinion, please raise your hand. What about the viewers? You want to raise your hand about this? Wow, someone being so discreet. No hands? Then why don't I break the ice? Oh, excuse me, could you change the music, please? To something a little more mysterious. Yeah, that's good. The mood has been set. Alright, Takano-san, take it away. I think that just by poring over Tatarigoroshi, the mystery won't be revealed. I know what you mean. Obviously, that's how the stories have been set up. Was there something like that in particular? I don't know if I'm right, but in Onikakushi, when Maibara-kun was eating in the restaurant with Oishi-san, Sonosaki-san found out, and it was a little mysterious, right? It was certainly mysterious just in Onikakushi, but after reading Watanagashi, a few things made a lot of sense. Oh my god, mind blown! When I mentioned a restaurant with cute uniforms during the story, it must have meant Angel Ward, and sorry for the mic. And Angel Ward is owned by the Sonosaki family, so... someone who knew Kei-chan was there too, and told me it actually makes a good amount of sense, right? That's what we mean. There are subtle differences in the Higurashi stories, but I think there's three facets. There are the same for each. The character settings, for example. I was scary in Onikakushi, but that wasn't only because in Onikakushi, it was because my character was the exact same in all 3 stories. Is that it? No, you weren't like that in Watanagashi. I agree with the characters being exactly the same. The most extreme case being me dying in the same way in the same place every time. What do you mean cohesion? No matter which story is it, you always die the same day, on the same day. There's a scene where during Watanagashi, Takano-san and Tomitake-san sneak into the ritual implement storehouse. The same... Right, kind of like the same thing with Satoko's years back. The same scene may have still happened in the other stories, even though it wasn't portrayed. I think it still happened, save for a few events. The weather, the day, the festival, what we did in the club, and Satoko's uncle coming home. It's almost all the same. Which means we have a bunch more questions. If the stories are told exactly in the same environment each time, why do they end up being so different? If we think in a general sound novel type of way, sometimes the story branches depending on choices, right? So like if in Watanagashi, you had given the doll to my sister. An unavoidable bad end from a choice so early on. That's pretty scary. Oh my god, you're right. Well, in Tatarigoroshi, maybe whether you decide to kill the uncle or not. I think it was way before that. I think it branched back when the uncle's lover disappeared because of some trouble and he returned to Hinamizawa. That's what I was thinking. I think this would have been all preventative. The uncle's, lover didn't disappear. Then what about the first branch in Onikakushi? Or maybe if, from what I think of it, maybe if Tomitake-san kept his mouth shut about the corpse, that never would have happened either. I'm really starting to deconstruct this. Jesus. I think it was happened when I appeared and started talking about the serial freak death incidents related to Oyashiro-sama's curse. You know, I just thought of something. If Keiji-san gave the doll to Mion-san, if Oishi-san and my uncle hadn't appeared, would we not have spent our time in peace without anything happening? Or what about if Keiji kept his mouth shut about Satoshi? I see. Satoko gotten right to the point. You're right. You can say that again. Music though. Then maybe we should pray Oishi-san and her uncle don't show up in this dark story. Then if we can prevent Sonosaki-san from getting in the bad mood, everyone will be happy. Yay, big sis, you're needing in for the bad end. Be careful, everyone. If you make my sister mad, you're sure to get a bad end. What are you saying, Shion? Next time up. Oh no! Oh, pound. Oh, I can already see those imagery coming up in the anime. Oh no! I think Joseph are gonna help with that.
Oh no!
Anyway, I'll pound nails into you without mercy. Bang bang. Just you wait. We can't solve any of the mysteries thus far, but we seem to have put together a plan for how we get the story to end happily. I wonder if that would really make us happy. Oishi-san and Teppei Hojo-san don't show up. Mion-san gets the doll. Is that all we have to make sure of? You're right. We're all forgetting the most important thing. Remember the great Hinamizawa disaster? You cannot prevent natural disasters. Should we have everyone in the village put on gas masks and move away? It's probably Oyashiro-sama's curse, so we need to make sure not to make Oyashiro-sama angry. Nah, this is getting a little tricky. We mustn't anger Oyashiro-sama, eh? And what should we do in order to prevent that? The dam project itself is probably out of the question. Maybe if there was never a dam project in the first place. That would be hard. If it didn't happen, we would need a ritual to quell Oyashiro-sama's anger. Sinking a sacrifice into Onigafuchi Swamp, a ritual sacrifice. A sacrifice? Who did we sacrifice? Come on, use your head. Someone who dies no matter what happens. If he's gonna die anyway, then we may as well have it help out Hinamizawa. When do you say dies no matter what? You're talking about me, aren't you? No, I think she's talking about somebody else. I knew all along. I knew you had some very important role in the story, Jiro-san. We'll get you to play your part. And with that, we have a blueprint for getting a nice, happy, good ending, don't we? Let's give it a try since we have time. Everyone involved, come over here. First, we stop Uncle Hojo, whose lover ran out on him from returning to Hinamizawa. Hiya, my name is Uncle Hojo. Since he has no portrait, so I'm just saying it. I'm so lonely and blue because my lover ran away. Time to go back to Hinamizawa, lock up Satoko-san. No! And I'll raise her into a maidservant while I take my motorbike back. Oh no! What I think of his fantasies.
Help me! Oh my god!
Yeah, I'm having too much fun with this. Raise her into a maidservant. Why don't I take my motorbike back? I'll just put in the key and click, click. Kapow! Judgment! To ashes and dust shall you return. To Satoko-chan, did you think that was a little too much gunpowder? I hope Coach is alright. And next we stop Oishi from showing up. Me this time? No. My name is Kurado Oishi. A hot girl. A hot, good-looking middle-aged man who looks like a blues singer. Kaboom! Meep! Judgment for you. And lest we forget, a follow-up service for my sister. Come here, big sis. Here's a cute little doll for you. Aw, how nice. I'm not really understanding this. And finally, we must quell Oyashiro-sama's anger. And then our last actor will please come up. Tie him fast, wrap him up and hang him. He'll sink for 3 days, right? I'm not that patient. Let's just get this over with. And with that, the case has been closed. The end. What's going on? Oh no, all of a sudden all this arm of mine is glowing with an awesome power. This pile of corpses is a pretty big deal. Oh, I think that's Keiji again. Huh? It's the phone. Hello? Oh, Keiji-kun. Thanks for all your work. Yeah, looks like you're all having a roaring old time. And yet I am busy with reading the scenario for the next story. Whatever. I'm in a good mood, so I'll let you off without any teasing. Is she on there? Can you put her on? What? You're going to announce it here? I wanted to keep it a secret for a while longer, but okay. A secret between Shion-san and Keiji-san? What do you mean? Nobody told me about this. Nobody! Okay, Kei-chan, let's all say it at the same time. 1, 2, 3. The main character of the next story will be Shion Sonosaki. If you say so. What? Yes, so that's that. The one topping the popularity chart since her first appearance. Oh, yeah, I could totally see that. The late appearing younger sister of the twins had been the pattern of things ever since the day of TH. I had no idea what that means, and it doesn't matter. Anyway, I've been fired from my main character post for once. If the rumors are right, I might even get a portrait finally. Yahoo! Well, portraits of Kei-chan would be a big waste of disk space. If it couldn't fit all on one disc, there is a pretty high chance he'd be the first one dropped. Are you okay with this, Shion-san? The main character always meets some terrible fate in the end. Cuckoo. Well, until now, but that doesn't necessarily mean it'll happen next time. With Tatarigoroshi, we're already at the third game in Higurashi When They Cry series. This first half presented along the strange and exciting mysteries, but starting next time, the mysteries will start to be solved in the second half, marking the start of the investigation arc, temporary name. That means it'll be a thrilling story where I become a detective and solve all these crazy unfair mysteries. You better think up a good signature phrases like, "You, sir, are the criminal." It won't happen, never. You'll never get close to the three family secrets. Be in prison, then get tortured. You're shoo-in to meet a violent, unnatural death. Yeah, it is digital, but keep in mind, this stuff, the series came out like from 2002 to 2006. We didn't have stuff like really had stuff like Steam at the time. It was there, but not like until we got the orange box. Sis, I should say the same to you. Are you mentally prepared for me to see through all your mysteries and secrets and yet have you apologize to me and commit a suicide? No chance of Oyashiro-sama's curse for me, is there? Anyway, the news story is about to begin the second half. Temporary called Meakashi, or Eye-Opening, is currently undergoing digital development. We should be able to unveil it to you all in the near future, so I hope you look forward to it. Onikakushi, Watanagashi, and Tatarigoroshi. What choice will you come after reading these three stories? Or will you come up with more questions instead of theories? Rena has no clue either. For all you warriors who never yielded to these three mysteries and kept on fighting, we present you with one final scenario as thanks to your enthusiasm. one which we never originally planned on giving to you. Please enjoy it. Yeah, the final scenario, which is Himasabushi. I did say I'll start it, but yeah. Well, I got all the achievements for this one. I wonder if all my perfect games are just gonna be based on Higurashi. Anyway, just as promised, let me get rid of the censor bar since we're not gonna see it in the next one. Oh, Matsuri Bayashi. Cool. There we go. Have Rika-chan, you guys. Anyway, yeah, I promise I'll do that next, but I've got Borderlands 3 and I want to just show a quick gameplay of it, of what I've been doing so far. I want to play Borderlands 3 now. Okay, stay tuned, you guys.